Alrighty, so when it comes to celebrating is with others and bringing everyone together is a really great time to see your family, see your friends, bring together people that maybe you don't see all that often. But it's also another really great time to try some new tasty foods, and a great way to have a little bit more of the healthfulness as well as create an environment what's a little bit easier to be more mindful in our eating at a party is by going a little bit more plant forward. So that's what we're talking about today is how can we incorporate a little bit more plants into our snack boards that we're creating today, or really any of our meals that we're having at a party. So we're going to host the plants. So when you're thinking through how can you plan out your meals, so kind of stepping away from the party board or the snack board, but just in general, what are we going to have at the party? Instead of starting with, oh, what's going to be my main dish and concentrating it on it being like an animal protein, like, oh, am I going to do a smoked turkey? Am I going to do a roasted turkey? Am I going to do prime rib? Like, what am I going to do? Like, that's where you usually typically start. Start instead at the whole foods approach and start with the vegetables first. So taking those typical stars of the show, taking the Bruce Willis, who's typically the star of the show, and demoting him to a co-star, and taking those extras and those typical co-stars. I can't think of one like on top of my head as a real star who's one, but anyway, and promoting them to the star of the show and making those the center of what you start planning first. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I could do a really great stuffed acorn squash, and I could put in some great whole grains like some quinoa and some crispy chickpeas, and then get that kind of like holiday feeling with sage as my herb in there. Having that great kind of big piece of the plate. Or maybe you're looking at a vegetable Wellington where you're getting those same types of flavors of the holidays in a more kind of like traditional party type food that you would have, but leading with vegetables and having mushrooms and maybe some smoky flavor and creating like a bacon type of thing in there. So how can you lead with plants, lead with those whole foods, then bring in those like typical side dishes that are a little bit more of our favorites. So like in my house, it's like we always have to have cheesy potatoes at Christmas. Like we have to, like that's a thing. Like if we don't, then like everyone will be up in arms and leave. Bringing in those favorite side dishes, maybe having a crudité and a great snack board like what we're doing today for those people who just kind of want to graze and munch along. And then look at your meal and say, do I need some animal protein? Like, what do I need in my dish? Maybe all I need is just like a turkey breast, and that's all I need because I've got all of this other great stuff that's going to fill people up. So it's a great way to host the plants. It makes it so people can be more mindful of their choices and still get that satisfaction from those delicious flavors as well. So now moving into talking about building our party platter. So in front of you all here today, and then those at home, you received a little handout that kind of goes through this as well. But this goes through kind of what I just talked about, but in more of your platter, your holiday snack board, and how you can build things. So you can start by, you could do these in any different types of order, but looking at the dips that you have on the board. So sometimes a lot of the dips can be really more indulgent in how they're put together. How can you add maybe plants into those things, or add some maybe more lighter ingredients or acids and things like that to really brighten them up and add that flavor without having to have the more indulgent pieces? So for example, could you do like a baba ganoush? Could you do a hummus? Could you make a more creamy ranch or kind of more traditional dip that you would have with a crudité out of white beans or silken tofu, something like that, to make a little bit more healthful of a dip. From there, add in your vegetables and fruit. So you can, go to the grocery store and have them do the work for you. Like a lot of our grocery stores have like the shortcut section where they've already broken down the broccoli and cauliflower and carrots and all those different things for you. And you can have those as your fresh vegetable element. But then also remember that vegetables aren't just raw on your platters. They don't have to be. Create additional texture with those vegetables to make them more enticing and more interesting, and you're more likely to grab them. Your guests are more likely to grab them. So maybe you are roasting them and getting kind of that char on them. Maybe you're putting like a little bit of a sauce or a different type of seasoning on them, or blanching them, whatever it may be, in order to create a little bit more texture from those vegetables, or even from your fruits. Then add in some different nuts and seeds. These are going to add protein, some healthy fats. This is what's going to add like kind of that satiation factor to your board, right? Like those are the things that keep us full and make this feel like it's actually more of a meal and keeping you going as a party is going on. And they're also a great way to add texture. So a different type of crunch that goes along with those ingredients. And then garnish with other different snacks and treats. So maybe as you're adding some cheese or honey, like there's different types of flavors of honey that you can add. You can add different candies and chocolates and things like that as kind of garnishing and like making it the kind of rounding out the platter from there. Here's some more kind of concrete examples of where the things fit into each one of these little categories. So like I said, a hummus or a baba ganoush, even guacamole, a white bean dip. I have an example of one of those in my presentation that you all would really enjoy. Vegetables, like I said before, they could be your raw, like carrot sticks or jicama sticks, any of those things. But they could be marinated, or you could do a quick pickle on some of your vegetables, any of those to add different types of flavor to the vegetables. The fruit, you could do dried, you could do fresh, whatever you'd like, or even like dried as in cranberries or kind of the ones that are a little bit more chewy, like raisins, apricots, those things. But you could also get dried fruit like dehydrated apples or, mangoes or whatever you may like as well. Nuts and seeds, somewhat self-explanatory, but try to pick some things that maybe you don't have all of the time, like chestnuts or having walnuts that you can break open, or pistachios, like different things like that to add variety to your platter. And then the other snacks, you'll choose some whole grain crackers, pita chips, honey, dark chocolate, all of these things really kind of round out the platter and make it so people have a lot of different choice to build their plate. So a few more tips for you as you're having more of your plant party is swap out those creamy dips for something that is a little bit more vegetable or plant forward. Like I said, with the white bean dip, silken tofu is also a really great way to create that creaminess of a dip. That would typically be like mayonnaise based. You can do silken tofu and get that same kind of texture. It's more healthful, less fat, less indulgent, and still like really filling and delicious. Add some crunch beyond just doing, chips or crackers. Like I said, the dried fruit is a really great way to do that because you're getting a different type of texture. I've also been known to put veggie straws on my snack boards because they're in my house, and I mean, I have a toddler. So those are going on my board. Like I'm going a little bit different with the type of texture that I have. Or even they make like the harvest snap peas are really great. They're like a little crunchy snack that can go on the board as well. Try to, think of your board in a way you would think of a different type of food. And the what I'm getting at is, can you go and think of it as nachos? So could you go and say, okay, I'm going to have nachos, but I'm going to create it with fruit. So slice up different types of fruit, and then maybe think of like your cheese sauce as like a great like yogurt dipping sauce that goes along with it. Like that's why when people are struggling with like snack boards and things like that, I'm like, how would you build nachos? If you were standing in front of a nacho bar, what all would you put on top of it? Okay, like what are little swaps in order to like build a board, build a plate, because that's all nachos are, is just a snack board, but mounded up together. And kind of recreate that in your own way, because it's not as intimidating as maybe, you know, a board may be. So this is that dip that I was telling you all about. Any of y'all here can scan this QR code, and even y'all at who are joining us virtually, scan this QR code. And this brings you to a really, really delicious white bean dip that has oregano in it as well. So some flavors that people will feel really familiar with. And it's all created with white beans. It's super yummy. I'll also say that budget-wise, this is a whole lot more budget-friendly than if you're maybe wanting to like get into doing your own hummus and buying tahini and like all of these different things. So really, really yummy. Let Joe get it. Awesome. Okay, so now moving on to like away from the plate and kind of more how we feel when we are attending a party and how we can create those mindful choices. So you want to spend the time with your families or your friends and enjoying the parties, enjoying the experience that you have. But if you're wanting to be more mindful and kind of build a plate in a way that that keeps you working towards your goals and how your healthfulness looks to you, you can always go back to the structure of what does my plate look like. So creating a plate that half of it is those fruits and vegetables, you know, going back to what I talked about at the beginning, having all those different fruits and vegetables available make this a whole lot easier, right? You're not going to feel like creating half of your plate is so burdensome when the majority of the options available at your party are plants and coming from those fruits and vegetables. So choose those to fill up half your plate. Do a whole grain or a starchy vegetable like that acorn squash with the quinoa in it to fill out the other quarter. And then have some of that protein as well. It could be, you know, some of the, you know, cured meats that we have today. It could be, you know, the tofu. It could be other plant-based proteins like chickpeas or whatever it may be. That fill up that other little quarter, and then try to aim for healthy fats as much as possible. So getting this balance can keep you working, keep you on that healthfulness path. And then also, you know, always listening to your hunger cues, knowing, am I feeling hungry? Am I feeling satisfied in this meal? You know, taking the time to pay attention to that and how you're feeling in the meal. Are you feeling rushed? Are you feeling stressed? These principles go beyond just when we're at parties, you know, really being mindful and experiencing the food that you're eating and listening to how you're feeling in that moment is really important, no matter when we're eating. It will bring the enjoyment to you in eating the meal that you created or your, you know, friends and family brought to the party, and make the experience really be what it is, and fulfilling for you individually in your body. And then lastly, remember that these celebrations are about, you know, coming together, getting all of the food together and enjoying it all as, you know, as a group. There's a lot of research that says that just the act of dining together, getting a group together, maybe arguably like what we're all doing here, even a virtual way, has a lot of benefit to many different chronic conditions. So take that time to enjoy that, enjoy the people that are around you. It actually helps you in being more mindful as well, like we talked about on the last slide, to be more present and there with the individuals that you're dining with. And then last, as if you are someone who is hosting for the holidays, or if you're someone who just has 1.5 million things to do around the holidays or around a party, remember to think of yourself and take that time to check in with yourself and know if you are overstressed or overwhelmed or overcommitted. If you're looking at your schedule and you have all of these different things on the docket, is there something that you could cross the line through and say, no, we're not able to attend this time, in order for you to really enjoy yourself? Like, those pieces of it are really important as we're going into these seasons, to be a little bit more stress-free and enjoy the events that you do choose to go to. That's all that I have. I'll let y'all get to the good part now, and dig into the snack boards. If y'all have any questions, if anything popped up.
Yes.
Yep.
One person virtually asked for protein suggestions if you have nut allergies, but still want crunch or texture.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest?
I'm a big fan of crispy chickpeas. I think they're so good, and they're so easy to make. Especially, I do mine in the air fryer, but I mean, an oven still does really well. I've also seen air fryer kidney beans are really good. But you can do, I mean, if you have a nut allergy, like, you could do like yogurt bites, like the little yogurt, if you have kids, like yogis, but they're adult yogis. Or another one that I really like for individuals who are wanting that protein and want that crisp are, I said it earlier, and I said wisps. They're like cheese crackers, like either like Parmesan or cheese, like cheddar. Those are fantastic as well. They're good protein and not nut based. Also good for those who are wanting to avoid gluten for like a cracker component. So yeah.
No other questions virtually.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Okay. Well, we're gonna dig in. The last slide is just to thank you for being here. You will get the recording of the presentation, and if you want to check out any of the other webinars that have been presented, you'll be able to do that here. So